In this video, I wanted to share with you guys how I got this weathered, distressed, chippy look to my clock here. We actually made it from scratch, and this is made out of just like new wood that we bought at Home Depot. It was basically a bunch of planks that we put together and cut into a circle. But we wanted that weathered look because before, this clock actually was painted all white, and it was just too much for this space here. I had too much white furniture here, and so a white clock just kind of clashed with it. So what I wanted to do was give it this weathered distressed look without having to actually use weathered wood. And so what I did was use about two types of paint. I actually didn't put any poly coat on it, so just FYI here. So it was a really simple project. And honestly, what I did was I painted over the gray paint as well as then painted with white brush strokes. And then I added our name onto the clock and basically used small paint brushes to kind of wipe down with whites. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did in this tutorial, so stay tuned. Alright, first, in order to get this look, what we had to do was basically sand off all of the white paint. I used, again, chalk paint for the previous look, and so what I did was use an orbital sander. My husband used an orbital sander, and we sanded off all of the white paint that was on it, and it took, you know, a lot of elbow grease in order to take all of that paint off. And so the first layer that you're going to see me put on is actually this gray chalk paint, which I will go ahead and link to the Amazon product below so that you guys can see what that product is. And I basically did a very thin layer of gray chalk paint, used a sponge brush to apply it, and obviously a paper plate in order to kind of dab all of the paint onto the sponge brush. And I only used like 2 sponge brushes throughout this whole process. After I painted it gray, I went ahead and let it sit for about an hour or so in order for it to dry. And then after that, what I did was I used this white chalk paint. Again, I'll link it so that you guys can see what that product is. And basically went, again, with the rain and painted it where I wanted to like have it look distressed. And so I wanted to have the brush strokes in there, so I made sure that I used a brush with bristles in order to get that look. And I basically went through and painted it across the clock face. One tip I learned from this is just make sure that you don't have a lot of paint on your brush and start at the very end of or the edge of the actual piece, and then go ahead and go all the way across just so that it doesn't look too crazy in terms of this distressed look. So here, don't do what I'm doing right there. Just go all the way across and then go ahead and dab more paint to it. Now, in order to go ahead and paint on our family name, what I did was actually use a Cricut machine to cut out our family name. So what I did is, see this blue piece of tape that I have right there? That is actually a Cricut machine that had cut our family name inside of it. And so what I'm doing here is weeding the letters out so that I can actually paint inside the letters. And it's basically very tacky on the other side, and I'll go ahead and place it onto the actual piece so that I can paint a layer of white paint on top of it. If you're doing a clock like I did, what you'll want to do is make sure that you know where your numbers are on the left and right, because what you don't want to do is put your name on it and then have your numbers placed on top of your name, because that would not be a good look. So just make sure that before you even cut your stencil, you measure how far you want the actual name to actually show up, and also just make sure that you know where how big your handles for your clock actually are. And then what you're seeing here is transfer tape. So what you don't want to do is go ahead and like do it like a sticker where you just stick it on there, because it won't lay flat, it won't lay straight. So you want to get transfer tape in order to transfer the actual stencil onto the actual art piece. I know that sounds like a lot of different moving parts, but the transfer tape will make it way better. And then I believe that little roller is called a brayer, so use that brayer to make sure that the stencil is on very top, because what you don't want to have happen is actually have the paint kind of bleed all the way through. One important piece that I want to make sure that you guys understand is making sure that the stencil doesn't bleed through. The way that you prevent this is adding this coat over the stencil with the top layer paint color, and then after that, and allowing it to dry, you can then paint it over with the actual color you want the stencil to be. That's really, really important, especially if you don't want the bleed to occur. Alright, so once that white layer is painted, what I wanted to do was make sure that the stencil was still flat. Oftentimes I find that stencil paper, I don't know if it's the brand or what, but it'll curl after being painted on top. So just make sure that you're aware of that. So this is the same gray paint that I used as the first layer of paint when I originally painted this. And again, I'm using a bristle paintbrush just because that's what I had at the time. And I think it also gives that more distressed look as well on the actual letters itself. So all I'm doing here is going across and painting on where the letters actually are. And this will be the color of the actual letters that are on my clock. All right, so the next step here is to remove the actual stencil paper, and I always hold my breath at this point because I'm afraid that it will bleed, and I know that adding that layer of like white paint underneath the gray paint definitely will help with the bleeding, but normally I still hold my breath because of the traumatization that I had the one time that I had to redo a piece of artwork over again. So anyway, this is the most stressful part of all of this. And then after I removed the actual stencil pieces, what I did was use a kid's paintbrush basically, and use the white paint and brushed over the actual letters in order to give it a distressed look, because if the letters look too perfect, then obviously it doesn't go with the theme of the distress. So what I did was went ahead and took a small paintbrush that little kids use, and then took white paint and just painted over some of the letter sections and just did really quick strokes on top of them with white paint. I hope you guys liked that tutorial. I know I absolutely love how it turned out. Just that chippy, weather, distressed look just brings out this area, I feel like. And so if you guys like videos like this, go ahead and click on the like button. That will really help me out and lets me know that you guys want more videos like this. And go ahead and click on the subscribe button while you're at it so that you get notified the next time I create new videos. And I'll go ahead and link to another video that I think you might like, which includes creating outdoor patio furniture, really easy and simple, and just giving it like a refresh look. So I hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks guys, take care.